Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the place where we set oppression ablaze, especially because it's damn July. Ooh, ooh. That's right, y'all. It is to me the official start of summer. No disrespect to the summer solstice. However, when it's your birthday month and you're a Leo, even though it's not Leo season just yet, but the prime time of summer soon approach. So I celebrate the commencement of July. So I'd like to welcome everybody to July. And let me give a quick happy birthday shout out to our Fire Fam OG Latif, who is celebrating a birthday on today. So please show Latif some birthday love in the chat. Thank you guys so much. So we've got I think a decent show. I think it's going to be a good show today. Big up to everyone who endured me and the ear doctor this morning. Now, usually the more esteemed members of the Remix Morning Show usually do not let us onto our own devices all by ourselves like that. But everybody stood us up. It was like, y'all niggas be okay. And we was. I think we was. Who knows if we were. But I appreciate it if you did tune in, watch, and hang out with me and the ear doctor. I feel like me and the ear doctor are like the Wonder Twins. You know what I'm saying? As I've gotten to know ear doctor, we have some things in common. You know what I'm saying? I dig ear doctor, and I usually don't. Scorpios. I could take them or leave them, but I like the ear doctor though because I appreciate the straightforwardness of his Scorpio-ness. Air doctor don't have no cut cards, so I appreciate that. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope everybody is safe wherever you are. Here in the DC area, we have some powerful thunderstorms rolling through, so you might possibly hear the rumbles of thunder. Right before we went on, a big thunder clap rumbled the house. I was like, "Ooh, okay, well, let's hope for the best." Let's hope I'm in the good graces of the universe. Let's put it that way. But gang, I wanted us to get started. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share. Everyone that's watching us live on YouTube, big up to everyone that's watching us on Twitch. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to engage. But I wanted to begin with what was a pop culture moment at Glastonbury Festival over in the UK. That doubled as a pop culture / political moment. I suppose it's probably more political than pop at this point, but because it certainly saturated the British news that the rap punk duo, that's how they're classified. Oh shit. Woo. Did y'all hear that? That was crazy. The rap punk duo Vylan performed at Glastonbury. And during a live simulcast on the BBC, some things were said. a new tune was dropped, and the folks are not happy about it. But before I get into that and why all the pearl clutching and even criminal investigations that are plaguing these incredible artists are so not only contradictory, but just a moral failing, and highlights the hypocrisy of the empire and what it deems to be quote unquote terrorism, which is wild. But before we get into what Vylan said and did at Glastonbury, I wanted to reference y'all to a couple of places because, there's some interesting news afoot. And I want to kind of lay a very abbreviated case as to why what Vylan had to say, sometimes it's hard to argue with the logic. So we'll go ahead and put up that article. I believe this comes to us from the Black Agenda Report. Shout out to Black Agenda Report with a crystal clear articulation of news that came out days before the Glastonbury Festival. And Harvard's data link published a study conducted by an Israeli professor from a university in Israel based off military calculations and spatial data across the region, doing some demographic spatial data. And what they found was there are almost 400,000 Palestinians missing from the population. The number given is 377,000. That is the estimated true number, or more accurate number, of Palestinians who have been slaughtered by Israeli forces for 21 months throughout the course of this horrific 21st century genocide. And that number far exceeds the reported number by most mainstream media and legacy outlets that 55 to 60,000 Palestinians have been killed. I also want to note that 377,000 are the estimated that are deceased, okay? And part of the reason it's been difficult to count those numbers is because the munitions and bombs used by the Israeli forces so mangled and destroyed people's bodies, right? People were pulverized. Their limbs were blown off. Some were decapitated. And I certainly apologize for this graphic description, but we live in graphic times. And y'all know this. So, to get a true count of the number of Palestinians that have been lost in this genocide, or rather slaughtered, murdered, martyred in this genocide, is more closer to 377,000, which is an appalling number. And to be clear, Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted for war crimes in international court, alleging crimes against humanity and other charges. He and members of his right-wing extremist cabinet. And to be clear, many international organizations have confirmed that indeed there is a genocide happening in Palestine. And not only that, that Israel, oh, by the way, Black Gender Report laid it out about the Fourth Geneva Convention, in which the occupying force must provide basic human needs, food, water, medicine, to the population that is being occupied. And Israel refuses to do this, allowing thousands of humanitarian aid trucks to languish. And in addition to, throughout the duration of this genocide, Israel has not hesitated to murder humanitarian aid workers, along with healthcare workers, along with journalists, by the hundreds. So there's that. There's that. Will, can we pop up the next article? This was the one that was making the rounds mere days before Glastonbury. And this was the piece published by Haaretz, which is, of course, an Israeli-based publication. And it's titled it's a killing field. IDF soldiers were ordered to shoot unarmed Gazans. And the article details are horrific. And it primarily deals with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is an Israeli and American group that is intentionally doing a piss poor job of distributing aid to Palestinians, only opening 3 distribution sites. But the IOF forces constructed this, what many are describing as a Squid Games or Hunger Games type of pen that Palestinians who have been starving, who have been displaced dozens of times, who have survived bombing, famine, and disease, are shot at with live ammunition, grenade launchers, and mortars. And the Israeli soldiers say that the killing of civilians has become normalized to them. And that if they don't shoot at civilians, then they are reprimanded by their commanders. So under military directive from the higher ups, not that these IOF forces, by the way, not to say that they needed a whole lot of encouragement to slaughter innocent civilians. They've been doing that the whole time. They've been shooting women, children, elderly, innocent people, disabled folks, shooting them in the head while bombing almost 40 hospitals in Gaza, right? It was also reported, though I wasn't able to confirm this, though I saw this a couple of places, so I definitely encourage all to investigate on your own. But I saw some credible reports that I found credible, by the way. You could take the article down. Well, thank you. Reports that I found credible, by the way, that crushed up oxycodone pills have been found in bags of flour that have been given out to Palestinians at these food distribution sites. And I want y'all to understand that there is no end to the mania that the Israelis clearly are. This is psychopathy, right? Like this is sociopathy, psychopathy. Like this is the actions of a deeply unwell population who has managed to ultimately dehumanize Palestinians to the point that they would literally drug and or taint the very precious flour that people literally risk their lives to get their hands on. And they would put drugs in that, oxycodone no less, a very powerful opioid that has addicted millions of Americans, taken the lives of millions. What's the point of doing that exactly? What were to happen to a Palestinian child, anybody in particular, but I'm thinking of a child or someone who is immunocompromised or someone who has, everybody's in poor health in Palestine, to be clear, right? So you make bread or something out of that and you eat that. What happens? I don't know what happens, but it's sinister. It's deeply depraved and it's evil, and there's no excuse for it. And there's not enough international condemnation from so-called world leaders. The people around the world are rallying to Palestine. Like we see actions, we see marches, gatherings, protests, strategic campaigns, boycott, divest, sanction, right? Like we see a lot happening to try to quell the amount that Israel is allowed to inflict upon these oppressed folks. So this brings us to Glastonbury. Okay, so we've got the Harvard report come out in days before Glastonbury. 377,000 Palestinians believed to have been killed in the genocide. Then we have that the Israeli soldiers have been ordered to fire upon civilians who are literally starving and lining up to receive aid, while their aid allegedly is being drugged and tampered with. So here we go to Glastonbury. And this is what has caused the kerfuffle. So knowing all that you know, even the short things that I just told you, right, which is, just a few days old, but knowing all that you know about what's been happening in this genocide, keep that in mind as you watch this clip from Bob Vylan. Run that from the beginning, Will. Let's go. That sounded like a summertime smash. Actually, Will, let's run that back one more time. That sound like that could be you might need to be pumping this in your Jeep during the summertime. You might need to run this as though it is a jammy jam. Will, if you don't mind, encore. Big up to the real ones. Bob Vylan, please go stream their music. Support these brothers as much as you can, because the attack upon them is on. Now, let me say this. Shout out to the BBC because look at what happens when you do clownery. Because when you do clownery, the clown comes back and bites. Now, the reason why people, in addition to beyond what was said, obviously, the reason why the folks across the pond are so up in arms. I mean, the fuck boys and girls across the pond, the real ones recognize real and throw the fist up. But at the same time, Bob Vylan was performing on a different stage at Glastonbury. The Irish rap group Kneecap was performing. Now, Kneecap has gained some notoriety for obviously being very pro-Palestine, but one of their members faces some bogus fucking charges about associating with terrorism because the youngin wanted to rock the Hezbollah flag, which he denies, by the way. I have no idea. I'm not too apprised on that case, but I know that the BBC kind of had the heads up on Kneecap. So with intention, they did not stream Kneecap's performance on the iPlayer or online or wherever the BBC was streaming the Glastonbury Festival from. So they cut to Bob Vylan. So they cut to Bob Vylan, thinking, I guess, Bob Vylan's performance was going to be far less political than Kneecap's performance. I mean, Kneecap, those wild Irish, Northern Irish, by the way, who firmly assert that Northern Ireland remains occupied. Again, big up to the real ones across the pond. You feel me? So the BBC has had to eat a lot of crow and apologize, and we firmly condemn and blah, blah, blah. And all the lawmakers, we condemn, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Bob Vylan's comments are being deliberately taken out of context and being labeled as anti-Semitic, which is wild, wild. Because to my understanding, I didn't hear anything anti-Semitic in Death to the IDF. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be clear, like, such a type of phrase can be interpreted literally or figuratively. You understand? Now, I don't know how Bob Vylan meant it. It would be nice maybe if someone asked them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that they have spoken to the media at this point for a direct comment, but I think like something was posted on social media in which the lead rapper, the lead talker for Bobby Vylan, that said that he, wished that his children could make sure that they live in a world where they can definitely speak out against utter injustice and inhumanity. I'm paraphrasing here. But let's see, what have the consequences been already for Bob Vylan? Well, a number of things. They are under local investigation by law enforcement for what? For what exactly? Inciting violence against a specific group, right? And listen, we say shit like, I mean, we want death to capitalism. We want death to colonialism. These are systems, right? But if I said I want death to the Democratic Party, I want death to the Republican Party, does that mean that I want all the Democrats raptured up? No, it doesn't. It means that I want that particular organization to falter and fall, to die, to not be relevant, to wield no more power. And I don't know what Bob Vylan meant by death to the IDF. But as an artist, I'm going to give them a lot of latitude for interpretation. Now, I can interpret it the way I think they meant it, and I'm quite satisfied with that. But I definitely don't think that there is any sort of tangible or reasonable or logical incitement that can be done against the IDF, certainly not from the side stage of the Glastonbury Music Festival, okay? I saw a comment on social media. The brother was like, what do you think? Like, are they inciting people to fly F-16s over Tel Aviv and drop bombs? Like, what do the people pearl clutching and given some sort of, moral aggrandizement, like what do y'all think he meant? How does exactly one target the IDF as a civilian? Make it make sense. And the Zionists continue to paint themselves in a corner. Word up to Dr. Shaheed. He said, the more that the Zionists tie the state of Israel and its survival to the religion of Judaism, the more that makes Jews as a whole vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Because people, I think a lot of reasonable people can subtract the state of Israel, the illegal state of Israel, and Zionism away from Judaism. I don't think that's a hard mental reach at all. It's not a reach at all. Like, people who follow Judaism are not necessarily supporters of Israel or supporters of Zionism. Like, that's a very easy thing to make. And I think that an artist like Bob Vylan has enough political savvy to make that distinction. But it is the the cognitive dissonance that comes from the media that is willing to protect Israel and its interests publicly at all costs. The IDF is committing a genocide. They have slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. This is not in dispute. They have bombed hospitals. They have kidnapped Palestinians, and trigger warning, they have raped detainees to death. This is documented, widely reported upon, though not here in America, right? Amongst other things, children come in with bullet wounds to the head. Kids, little kids. They drop bombs on intensive care units and hospitals. They kill ambulance drivers and first responders, and then buried their ambulances in a mass grave and denied they did it, lied. When Bob Vylan says what he said, a case can very easily be made at minimum to the abolition and total dismantlement. Is that a word? The total dismantling of the IDF as an organization. So hold on. I said Bob Vylan has suffered some consequences. They were dropped by their talent agency. They have been dropped by their manager. Bob Vylan was slated for a U.S. tour later this year. The petty-ass State Department wasted no fucking time in revoking their visa in the land of so-called free speech. Isn't that amazing how that happens? When your speech conflicts with the position of the empire, oh, well, now it's a bridge too far. Meanwhile, the Trump supporters, blatant white supremacists, Nazis, bearing flags of white nationalism and traitorous Confederacy. That's all that kind of speech is well and good, because it's the white supremacists, it's the white nationalists, it's America's default, it's the norm. So of course those positions are welcome. But let it be another example, y'all. We do not have free speech. And I understand that Bob Vylan are not U.S. citizens. However, they are artists. And artists are allowed to make people uncomfortable. That is their fucking job. Haven't we been screaming for artists? Haven't we been screaming for artists to say, do something, anything in the midst of this dystopian, fucking dark, incredibly savage time, especially the atrocities that the Palestinians have endured? Haven't we been begging artists to do? And he did. They did. And I want y'all to go stream their shit. Go stream their shit. Especially if you like rap music, especially if you like rock music. I mean, I guess they proclaim to be more punk than rock. Cool beans. I'm with it. If you like it, I love it. I'm very cool with it. But you guys know I'm a bit of a music snob. And as a young elder, I was so pleasantly surprised and so happy to hear the lyrical stylings. Like the lyrics definitely have some consciousness to it in terms of flow, ability, delivery. Check, and check. As a rap head aficionado, my prime time of consuming rap was during rap's heyday. So I feel as though I am a qualified authority as to who is a good MC. Bobby Vylan. a real one. Check him out. It is rather legit. So and I suppose, you know, I'm not exactly sure in the ways that we can support, but I think just from listening to what Bob Vylan had to say there, I think that they would encourage us to continue to support Palestine, right? Palestinians need our support more than ever. Israel is not letting up on our folks at all. Hold on. There's something else I wanted to get to here. 1 second. Okay. So the accusations of anti-Semitism are coming swift and hard, right? And it's a slur. It's a smear. You can objectively call what's been happening a genocide without it being anti-Semitic. You can say that the IDF is committing genocide, which they are, and it's not anti-Semitic. It's a statement of fact. But when people want to shut you up about Israel in particular and about Zionism, anti-Semite is the first is the first page in the playbook, baby. First chapter. Actually, it might be the fucking introduction. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's probably chapter 1. Chapter 1. Smear is anti-Semite. Smear all political opponents to Zionism as anti-Semitic. And this is a very old tactic. I found this clip of Malcolm X being asked whether he was an anti-Semite. And I thought that Brother Malcolm, per usual, was extremely clear and succinct and made perfect sense. So we'll definitely hit this from the beginning. And I want y'all to peep when the reporter asked Malcolm whether he's an anti-Semite. Malcolm's response is one of incredulity. Listen how the way he says anti-Semitism. He's like, what? It was, I just appreciated his inflection there because it said a lot. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the clip. Brother Malcolm speaking on it.
Anti-Semitic.
You've many of the things that I've read about you, and you've made it mention a couple of times about the Jews and everything. And are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic.
You've many of the things that I've read about you, and you've made it mention a couple of times about the Jews and everything. And I'm wondering if you are personally anti-Semitic.
No. How can I be anti-Semitic when the Arabs are half the Muslim world is Semitic? If I was anti-Semitic, I'd be anti-Arab and anti-everything else. No, I think that in this country, there's one mistake that the Jews make. They put themselves in a position where whenever anybody gives an objective analysis of the role that they play, they defend themselves by accusing you of being anti-Semitic. And a Negro is not anti-Semitic when he says that the man who's exploiting him in his community is white, because it is a white man who owns all the stores. Now, is it an accident that these whites who own these stores are Jewish? If it's an accident, then the fact that he says the Jew on the corner is exploiting me isn't an anti-Semitic statement. It's just more descriptive of the man who's exploiting him.
Basically that. Just to be clear, that is how Black folks talk. And I know that's kind of a separate point from what Bob Vylan said, but just to reiterate, you understand, like, I'm sure I know all groups are capable of bigotry and discrimination. However, to be clear, Black folks, especially in this country, normally we don't make those distinctions among whites, right? The white man, the white man, a white man. You know what I'm saying? But if you know their ethnicity, the white person's ethnicity, it's a descriptor, right? Like, my Italian boss or my Irish president, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, especially in Malcolm's time, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure they were a lot more freely referencing the Euro nationality of folks, or, you know, the Euro ethnicity of white folks, because they knew, right? But Black folks, I don't know how much we know or make them distinctions between the whites. I think now we just generalize the whites, the whites. But to the point, gang, that anti-Semitic trope is tried and true, okay? And we have to make sure that we are pushing back against false narratives, okay? Because the real story here is that Israel continues to slaughter Gazans at ridiculous rates. And I wanted to play this story. Let's see here. I think, is this Sky News? My bad, Will. I didn't mean to go out of order. Or maybe I didn't go out of order. But the story about the latest targeted bombing by Israeli forces in Gaza, because in spite of Tel Aviv getting batted up by Iran, by the way, we really don't know to what extent Israel took damages, because they are not reporting it. Okay, they are not letting us know how bad they got fucked up. I can only assume they got fucked up pretty bad. But they don't take days off. It's no days off for the genocide, regardless of what other countries Israel decided to bomb that day. They don't miss an opportunity to continue the slaughtering of Palestinians. And by the way, over 500 Palestinians have been killed at the aid distribution centers. And evacuation orders were given to the north of the country. And the Israelis came through in F-16s, in fighter jets, and bombed a population that doesn't have a standing army, that doesn't have an air force, that doesn't overwhelmingly bear arms. And they targeted a civilian site, which was an internet cafe that is widely used by journalists that are doing the literally lethal work of telling the stories accurately of what is actually happening on the ground during a live stream genocide. So I think this is actually Sky News. And I don't give the UK press in particular, and I don't give them no particular brownie points, but it is, I do find it remarkable, even to the extent that their Western media slant, what they will show versus what American media, legacy, heritage, mainstream media outlets will show, right? I don't see this in US media, not like that. Maybe Al Jazeera English, but that's not US media. So anyway, well, let's go ahead and run that package.
The talks about resuming ceasefire negotiations might as well be happening on another planet. In Gaza, the grim reality remains unchanged. It's been another day of relentless violence and a rising death toll. This was a beachfront cafe in Gaza City and was full of people when it was struck. It was one of the few remaining places with a reliable internet connection. At least 22 people were killed here, according to medical responders.
Forget red lines, we're past that. Nothing left to say. Look around. All I see is blood. Men, martyrs, limbs, unbelievable. People come here to rest, get some internet, take a break from what they see inside Gaza. They come westward to breathe.
Among the dead, Franz al-Salmi, who was a well-known artist, and Ismail Abu Khattab, a photojournalist. More than 50 people were also injured in the strike. These images, taken moments after the blast, show Palestinian journalist Bayan Abu Sultan. She's covered in blood and visibly dazed. Over the past 24 hours, Israeli airstrikes have intensified, some of the heaviest bombardments in weeks. They follow new evacuation orders in northern Gaza, triggering yet another wave of displacement. The horror in Gaza plays out in slow motion, each day bringing new funerals. Civilians, exhausted, starving and terrified, can only endure as international efforts to broker a ceasefire once again appear to be gathering pace. For civilians, though, trapped with nowhere to escape the bombs, a diplomatic breakthrough feels unbearably distant.
Those scenes are so painful and nauseating to watch. There's also been reports that Palestinians in the West Bank continue to come under attack by Israeli settlers. People are being forcibly evacuated from their homes. Some people's homes are being set on fire. And to be clear, what the settlers do, I should have pulled this other clip that I saw. Maybe I'll do it next week. But they had a really good report showing an American Zionist. This guy was from Long Island, New York, and he was at this Palestinian family's house. And he's yelling at them to get out of their house. It's wild. He's like, "This is my house now." And it's like, what? And what threatened violence as they as the Palestinians resisted. Like, he was saying, "Y'all don't want me basically to go get them people." You know what I'm saying? And the IDF soldiers stand by and do nothing, as Palestinians literally have their homes stolen with cameras rolling, witnesses up the wazoo. And this is unabated, y'all. This hasn't taken, I mean, what there was a ceasefire a couple months ago towards the beginning of the year. They're talking about ceasefire negotiations. I want to be clear. Hamas has agreed to release all remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for unconditional ceasefire. Netanyahu and his bloodthirsty cabinet, they don't want a ceasefire. They are not going to stop shooting and dropping bombs until every single Palestinian is dead or too weak from starvation and polio to put up any real fighter resistance. They could be more easily subdued and removed. And I want you to know, this is demonic work we are witnessing. For all the hypocritical never again talk when remembering the Holocaust, well, never again is happening again right now. And it is a goddamn wicked, twisted irony that it is the descendants of the survivors of the Holocaust that themselves are committing a Holocaust and are unashamed of it, proud of it. Whew, it's some chilling shit to listen to everyday Israelis describe in very dehumanizing terms what they think of Palestinians and the disregard that they have for Palestinian life, even the lives of Palestinian children. It is craziness. So I want to salute to Bob Vylan. I want to salute to everybody, honestly. Anyone that has lifted up their voice, anyone that has shown up for a protest, anyone that has considered the BDS movement and sanctions and adjusted their purchasing habits accordingly, to anyone that's ever signed a petition, to anyone that's ever stood in solidarity with Palestine. And Bob Vylan is going to be made to suffer for this. Anytime Black people speak up, oh, don't you dare step out of line. Don't you dare call the situation clearly for exactly what it is. Don't you dare put a call out to the people that is reciprocated by the thousands of people in the crowd. Don't you dare call for an end to the organization that is committing an act of genocide. We will punish you. We will take things from you. We will investigate you criminally. We will do all these things. So again, do what you can to support the artists, and please do what you can to keep raising up the very tragic reality that is going on in Gaza, being funded by the United States. And also UK is an accomplice here. There's not a lot of clean hands from the nation's perspective. So, but big up to the nations like South Africa that have put their voices out there and tried to literally do something to try to help end the suffering for the Palestinians. I'm going to take a small break here. Gang to bang. Yeah, it's not a fun show. It's not fun. But that's okay, because, you know, sometimes we do have to delve into the serious things. As the US approaches, you know, the 4th of July. Blah. Oh, it's Canada Day. Canadians, do y'all care? Happy Canada Day. Y'all getting drunk off the blats. what did they drink in Canada? I can't remember. It's the Labatt's, right? Well, I don't know. I remember in one of my visits to Canada, I think I brought some American beer, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember if it was Yingling. I don't really remember what it was. And I remember the group of folks I was with, they got American beer. You know, they don't buy American beer in fucking Canada because their beer is better and stronger. And they said the American beer tasted like piss. So there's that. So y'all be safe out there, Canada, on Canada Day. I bet you they turning the fuck up. Trump done fired up the patriotism in the Canadians. They is out there probably burning American flags, all kinds of shit on Canada Day. Burning effigies of Trump in Toronto. I'm sure something along those lines. So anyway, I certainly appreciate you guys being here with your homie. Don't forget Thursday, Classical Breakdown with myself and the Ear Doctor, featuring the one and only, the literally incomparable Minnie Riperton. Woo! That's going to be a fire show. See, I'm about to fuck Ear Doctor up. See, Ear Doctor don't know. He don't be knowing. He don't be knowing. he know a little something, but he don't be knowing. I'm like, dog, you don't understand. This lady got big tunes. Big tunes. So tune in for that. Go over to Black Liberation Media, subscribe, set your notifications. Also, don't forget to tune into the latest episode of Brokish. You know, Brokish drops on the 1st and the 15th, like that paycheck, or like that paycheck used to for some folks. Yeah, I want to check that out because they talk about the ADOS. You know what I'm saying? The A don'ts. The A don'ts, please. Don't be a DOS, be a don't. Tune in to Brokish, Black Liberation Media, available for you. So, Will, do we have any acknowledgments before I move on? Or are we saving them to the end, which is fine if we do?
We got Cynical. Cynical said, thanks, Kim. Really appreciate your journalism and humor. Keeps me sane. So shout out to Cynical and everybody in the chat. Happy birthday, Latif. And we got 70 people with us live.
Wonderful. That means YouTube is stepping on the broadcast as I expected them to. As I expected them to. It's funny how that works. And I notice it. Like when we talk about Gaza, they is not recommending. They are not recommending the stream, which is fine. You know, we tell the truth regardless of how many people are here, right? So it doesn't stop being the truth when it's just a few of us. So I appreciate everyone that is here. So, Cynical, thank you so much for your support. And they are trying to drive us crazy. They are trying to drive us crazy. We can't let them. Can't let them. Because they're going to self-destruct before we do. They're going to, well, what the kids say, they're going to crash out before we do. Maybe a Trump will crash out with it rhymes with mannerisms, mannerisms, slangerisms. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't wish negative shit on people, but Trump's a demon. Like, I think, can't you can wish negativity on demons, right? Like, that's allowed. I don't think God is going to hold that against you. I don't think that goes against your karma. Well, you shouldn't wish bad on people. Is Trump people? Or is that, who has confirmed this? Has that been verified? Because I don't think he's people. I don't think he's people. I think the reason he got that wig sewed on so tight, my nigga, it is herns under there. You got to cover up the herns. He cannot be manifesting in his true form, you know, just all willy-nilly. Of course, this nigga's a demon. Yeesh. Crazy work. So do me a favor, everybody. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's burn it down with Kim Brown. We do this Tuesdays, Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern. Coming to you live from the DC metro area. But I want us to go up to Baltimore, guys, because Baltimore police were exceptionally brutal during the month of June, and I want to give content warnings and trigger warnings for police violence, police brutality, police murder, and people experiencing mental health distress. So, over the course of less than 2 weeks, the Baltimore City Police Department managed to kill 3 civilians. On June 17th in West Baltimore, near Pennsylvania Avenue and Lawrence Street, a 36-year-old man by the name of Bilal Abdullah Jr. was gunned down by cops. Mr. Abdullah was a well-known figure in the city because he was, and Will, do me a favor, like I'm not sure the order in which the articles come up or the media comes up. So as I'm talking about it, if you could just roll them up there, I'd appreciate it. Mr. Abdullah Jr., 36 years old, he was what folks call an Arabber. Okay, now Arabber is a term exclusive to Baltimore, and it refers to the produce merchants who have all of their fresh fruits and vegetables in a horse-drawn cart, and it have bells on it, and they make out calls, hey, you got fresh fruit, you know what I'm saying? They and this man Bilal Abdullah was well known throughout the community. People knew him, people saw him. And on June 17th, a call came into Baltimore police, or rather, somebody approached Baltimore patrol officers in the neighborhood and said that there was a man with a gun. And apparently, according to police, let me attribute all of that according to police. And again, when we report on Cops Ain't Shit stories, we always bear in mind that the police usually lie. So once police encountered Mr. Abdullah, they chased him and alleged that he pulled out a gun and began firing at police, or at least shot one officer in the foot. Now, body cam footage was released. We won't show it, but it does seem to corroborate that Mr. Abdullah was indeed armed. And to be clear, from the reports that I saw interviewing folks that knew him and were familiar with him, they were very much shocked to hear, number one, that he had been killed by police at all, but that he was in an incident that involved a gun, because it seemed to be contrary to the person that they knew, having seen him on a regular basis for years around the city. Police released the body cam footage, but what's fucked up about it's a fucked up situation, to be clear, but what is another aspect of it that makes this brutal, in my opinion? Mr. Abdullah, when police returned fire, and by the way, I believe he was fired upon by at least 3 Baltimore police officers, and they reported to have fired over 30 shots at him. 30 shots, 30. And police failed to render aid to Mr. Abdullah. They claim because a crowd had begun to gather after residents observed and heard the shooting, and people were angry that police, murdered somebody in the streets. And police said that that's why they were unable to render aid at all to Mr. Abdullah, because they were afraid of the citizens that had gathered around. And that is absolute bullshit. Okay. Like I cram to understand why these cops, like, if you're so fucking scared, maybe you need to go be a cop in the county. Maybe you need to, oh Jesus, never mind. I don't want to send these fucking psychopathic Baltimore cops into other communities, but that is exactly how it works. Police shuffling around. But my point is this: he didn't need to be shot 30 times, and people were deeply appalled by the number of times he was shot. So that was on June 17th. So on the evening, let's skip ahead nearly a week. On the evening of June 24th, Dante Melton Jr., a 31-year-old man, father of 2, was near the corner of West Franklin and Franklin Town, or is it West Franklin Town and North Franklin Street? I'm not sure, but Franklin Street and Franklin Town. And when he encountered police radioed to dispatch and said that they encountered a man who walked up to the marked patrol car who was sitting at a red light and began trying to open the police door, according to the cop. The cop went on to radio and say, in so many words, that he believed that this man was experiencing a mental health crisis. The man believed, according to the cop on the radio, according to the dispatch radio, the cop said that this man, this individual, was walking in and out of traffic and said that someone was chasing him. And the officer said he didn't see anyone chasing him and he thought the man was just experiencing a mental health crisis. Now, let me put a pin in that real quick. By the way, if you've ever driven in Baltimore City, most pedestrians are in and out the street. I just want to say that, like, especially at certain intersections, like, and to be clear, I don't really hear about too many Baltimore pedestrians being hit with vehicles. It's an amazing superpower Baltimoreans have, to walk in and out of traffic and remain alive. So the fact that this man was so-called in and out of traffic, to me, is not particularly initially alarming, nor, I don't find that abnormal behavior for how pedestrians move in Baltimore. I just wanted to say that. But the police seem to believe himself that this man was having a mental health crisis. So they detained the man, okay? They detained Mr. Melton, Dante Melton Jr. They cuffed him. They put him in leg restraints. And they sat him. I don't believe he was placed inside the patrol car. I believe he was seated on the sidewalk nearabouts. Apparently, Baltimore police called numerous times for a medic, for an ambulance to transport Mr. Melton, because, again, they believed he was in crisis. But for some reason, about 4 calls for a medic went not answered. No medic came. No ambulance ever came. So within 50 minutes, and by the way, I'm basing this off reporting found on the Baltimore Beat. Shout out to Baynard Woods. This is a great piece. Will's dropping it in the chat. Y'all read that. It's a very good article. So within 50 minutes of Mr. Melton making his first initial contact with police, he became unresponsive. And the police decided to transport him to the hospital in the cop car. Now, why did it take so long? Why did it take nearly an hour? Why did police sit there and wait almost an hour for an ambulance that never came? Like, at what point do you deduce that too much time has passed to continue to wait on an ambulance when someone is in some level of distress? So finally, police transport him to the hospital. Mr. Melton tragically died the following day, June 25th. And in the Baltimore Beat piece, it goes on. It's a really good. There's some good feature reporting in there, because you get a lot of more context of Mr. Melton, because it took most media outlets, in fact, I don't think have identified him by name. He was 31-year-old father of 2. His mother and sister say that he had been experiencing mental health issues for the majority of his life. In fact, he did a stint at Crownsville. And if you're from Maryland, you know what Crownsville is. Crownsville is the psychiatric facility, which, fun fact, historically was abusing, unaliving its Black patients. I believe even there was a sterilization scandal out of Crownsville. Fun times. But this young man had been dealing with mental health issues and addiction issues. He dealt with, on and off employment. However, his mother and sister say that he was always very present in the lives of his children. And in fact, just days before he lost his life while in police custody, his mother made attempts through the court to try to get him help. She issued a protective order, but with the stipulation on the protective order that if police encounter him, they are to be made aware that he is experiencing a mental health crisis. Oh, and by the way that the cops and their media spokespeople failed to confirm his identity publicly for some time, his mother found that to be very suspicious, because she claimed, because he was reported to the hospital by police, or admitted to the hospital by police as a John Doe, and his mother said that he identified himself and said who he was. So why was he admitted as a John Doe? Some very interesting details in this Baltimore Beat piece. And Baynard goes on to make comparisons, or not himself rather, but he draws the parallels about the in custody death of Dante Milton and the in custody death of Tyrone West. And if you're not familiar with the story of Tyrone West, please go get familiar. His sister, Tawanda Jones, held West Wednesdays, a weekly protest, because Tyrone West also died in police custody. For years, his death was labeled undetermined. But in recent weeks, the Maryland Attorney General's office released the results of an audit of in custody deaths in the state over the past 20 years and found that 36 deaths that were ruled as either undetermined or, the excited delirium, or whatever kind of bullshit phraseology they want to put on to distract or divert from the fact that people died while in police custody. 36 of those deaths have now been reclassified as homicides. Tyrone West's death was one of them. So definitely check out that piece when you get the opportunity. So we want to send our condolences to Mr. Milton's family. And like I said, he passed away on June 25th. And on the same day, later that day, Mr. Milton was admitted to the hospital the night of June 24th and died in hospital on June 25th. Also on June 25th, Baltimore police found the time to kill somebody else. A 70-year-old woman, Miss Patasha Clark of Mosher Street, also in West Baltimore. My God. What kind of forces, what kind of division is the Western Division in Baltimore City Police? They sound like the goddamn the execution squad if you're having a mental health crisis. Miss Patasha Clark, 70 years old, shot by Baltimore police, shot and killed by Baltimore police after they alleged that she lunged at police with a knife. Okay? And I want y'all to hear this bullshit explanation given by the Baltimore City Police Commissioner. And I want you just to hear all the things that are clearly wrong, clearly wrong. And also, I want you to keep in mind that Baltimore City Police Department has a crisis response team, right? That is supposed to respond to calls when people are experiencing a mental health crisis. Such a team seemingly was not deployed in the in custody death of Mr. Milton and of Miss Clark here. So we are going to listen to what the Baltimore Police Commissioner said at a press conference regarding this latest officer murder of a resident of Baltimore City. Let's take a listen.
Afternoon, just after 2:30, officers received 2 calls for service for a residence in the 2700 block of Mosher Street. Both officers and fire personnel arrived on the scene. We were informed that a woman inside the residence needed assistance and may be experiencing a behavioral health crisis. Police and fire personnel attempted to speak with the woman numerous times. At some point, the woman brandished a knife towards the first responders. For her safety, officers were attempting to take her into custody and get her to an area hospital for treatment. When officers breached the door, they observed a woman holding a knife. Officers gave numerous verbal commands for the woman to drop the knife. The woman lunged towards officers with the knife, and a taser was deployed in an attempt to subdue her. The taser was ineffective, and the woman continued to lunge towards the officers with the knife. Officers persisted to give verbal commands, in an attempt to de-escalate the situation and exit the house when the officer fell to the floor. When he fell, the woman lunged at the officer on the floor with the knife. A second officer behind fired 2 shots, striking the woman. She was transported to an area hospital where she was pronounced.
So let's pick out what's wrong. And there's a lot wrong. There's a whole lot wrong. First of all, I need someone to explain to me how breaching the door, as the commissioner said, really they kicked in her fucking door, according to her relatives who went into her house after police released the crime scene, was allowed them to enter, and they found her back door kicked the fuck in. I need y'all to tell me rationally, maybe it's me, like, if you kick in my door, are you trying to de-escalate the situation? Am I supposed to be relieved? Like, oh, thank you so much for kicking in my fucking door because I didn't know how the handle worked. I didn't realize I could open the door. You know, silly me. I just had it closed. Thank you all so much for kicking in my fucking door and screaming commands at me. What is this de-escalation narrative bullshit? If you're a rational thinking person, imagine. I want you just to imagine you, assumedly, as a mentally stable person, how are you going to feel if police kick in your fucking door and scream commands at you? Make it make sense. The police commissioner said that she brandished a knife to first responders and in an attempt to secure her safety, officers decided to breach the door. How is that keeping her safe? She's in her fucking house. She's in her house. I don't know what specifically prompted the calls for service, okay? But according to Miss Clark's family, there have been close to 24 calls for behavioral assistance of her experiencing mental health crisis, right? This lady had issues, she had problems, but it was known, right? Clearly, it was on the record many places. I would hope, obviously, with the police, if they had been called to the address on numerous previous occasions, you know that you have an individual there who is mentally unstable. So maybe you don't fucking send the goddamn cavalry in order to encounter or even deal with this person. And like I said, Baltimore police has a crisis response team specifically designated to go out and either assist or take the lead on mental health crisis calls. Where was this unit? Did they even bother? Were any of these officers trained in any of those tactics? And the answer very clearly is fucking no. If a person is already experiencing a level of distress, ratcheting up the situation by forcibly invading their space in which they are safe. Now, listen, she could have been in there lunching out for show. I don't know what behavior she was exhibiting, but I promise you, she was obviously safer in her fucking house than she was being encountered by the police who were trying to make her safe. And instead, they made her dead. And I really would love to know the specific number of officers and firefighters. I think they said first responders. I would love to know the exact number. How many officers were on the scene? They have released the names of 2 of the officers that were involved. But I'm assuming we're talking about more than 2 first responding personnel on the scene. You're trying to tell me that at minimum 2 grown men, possibly more, you couldn't subdue a 70-year-old woman? What was the other part of the commissioner's press conference that jumped out at you? You know what jumped out at me? When they claimed that the woman lunged at police after being tased, the one officer, in an effort to de-escalate and retreat, fell backwards, fell on the floor. They claimed that she lunged at him. And the second officer shot her twice in the back. So you're telling me that lethal deadly force was the only option available to a grown man versus an elderly woman who had her back to him? And neighbors questioned this openly. I think it was WJZ that actually had a pretty good story about this incident. And actually the only local media mainstream outlet in Baltimore that I saw really humanize this lady, because her family loved her. She was known to the neighborhood. In spite of her mental health issues, the neighborhood expressed sorrow and frustration and anger. And they said they're going to miss this woman. They knew her. The police should have known. It should have been documented. And I know it was, but they just didn't give a fuck. And gang, at this point, I can only assume when they talk about, oh, we're going to give our officers more de-escalation training, more mental health crisis response training. I can only assume that showing up when someone is experiencing a crisis like this and the police arrive and kill them, I can only assume that's the fucking training. Because that's what we see happen over and over and over again. And it happens far more disproportionately to Black people, Black disabled people. Mental health is a disability. Mental health issues are disabilities. These are disabled Black people that the police are showing up and simply executing. And gang, am I alarmed at the escalation of everything that the Trump administration is doing? Yes. But this type of behavior from police predates Trump, predates Biden, predates Trump, predates Obama. I mean, this is standard operating procedure for police. And understanding that, okay? Now, I mentioned on the Remix Morning Show that Ear Doctor and I are not political educators, right? That's not our lane, as it were. But if I were to try to offer some kind of political education, it would be to try to stress to our people and stress to them with the utmost seriousness that if you love your folks who have mental health issues, who from time to time crash out, lunch out, zap out, whatever you want to call it, if you love them, you will not call the police on them. You better not, unless you hate them, right? Unless you want something bad to happen to them. Call the execution squad by all means, because they don't have any qualms of pulling the trigger on a Black person who is glitching. You understand? Like, I feel so bad for this lady, the 70-year-old woman, Miss Pratasha. Like, you can't even glitch in the privacy of your own fucking home. You understand? Like, if you're not safe within your house, if the police can literally kick in your door while you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you are literally not in your right mind. But you're in the house, though. You're in your fucking house. If the police can kick in your door and shoot you dead, it's open season on everybody. Everybody. And again, that's part of the reason sometimes I say that I've said this before. I'm going to say it again because I really feel this way. I'm a little wary about very freely sharing your mental health diagnosis with the world. Okay, baby, Palantir is scraping all the things, scraping it all. Any mention of you glitching, of you having glitch moments, a glitch diagnosis. You understand? They scraping it. They're going to map it. If they haven't already, they're going to know who is where, who has been diagnosed with what. And I agree that mental health issues should be destigmatized. I agree with that. But I just feel as though the trade-off for destigmatization via sharing what your issues are, which is fine until those are the reasons justified that the police not justified, but the police use to justify killing you. I know in the coming weeks we're going to hear a laundry list of diagnoses that this 70-year-old woman was dealing with. I don't know what they are specifically, but oh, she was bipolar, she was paranoid schizophrenic. Oh, well, I guess then that clear, nothing to see here. Sprinkle some crack. She had a disability. She had a mental health issue. She deserved to be murdered in her house by the fucking taxpayer-funded cops. No, it's a no. It's going to be a no every time. It's going to be a no every time. And if we can't literally stop the pigs from doing this, hopefully we can stop our people from calling the pigs. Okay. I think I told you guys this too. During COVID, when we was on lockdown, a gentleman in my neighborhood, close enough that I could hear and see him, obviously was in some level of distress. He would come outside and holler. Like he would just yell. And sometimes he'd be yelling coherently. Sometimes he'd be yelling incoherently, but he was yelling at the top of his voice. He would be yelling at 2:00 in the afternoon. He would be yelling at 2:00 in the morning. And this was constant for at least a week or two. Nobody called the police on him. Nobody in the neighborhood called the police. And he finally got his shit together. And I've not seen or heard him behave like that since. But imagine simply because he was causing a disturbance. And I mean that very loosely. Like, sure. Was it an irritant to hear this man screaming at the top of his lungs? It sure was. Was it enough to call the execution squad on him? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, he was in his fucking yard just hollering. He wasn't bothering nobody. He wasn't running up on people. He didn't appear violent. He was just loud. That's not a crime. It's not a crime. And it's certainly not worth calling people who are not mental health professionals. And I want everybody to understand, y'all all know this, but please go tell your folks. The police are not a panacea. They're not psychologists. They can't come on the scene and diagnose what the fuck is going on. They just know that they have the green light to shoot if they fear for their lives. Well, y'all some little soft scrotum skin little fucking twats. if a 70-year-old woman with her back turned to you, wielding a knife, not a gun, I don't think it doesn't even fucking matter. If you don't have the physical prowess to subdue an elderly person, maybe you shouldn't be on the goddamn police force. And if it is your predilection to put 2 bullets in a person who's got their back turned to you, when you could have done a less lethal option, or if you were to shoot her in the foot, shoot her in the shoulder, as neighbors suggested. So, as now is law in the state of Maryland, the Maryland Office of the Attorney General, the Internal Affairs Division, has taken over the investigations for these 3 police murders. Okay. And I just anticipate that these things won't slow down under Trump. The police are absolutely more emboldened. They know they're not likely to face major consequences. The investigation is going to drag out. I don't really have a whole lot of confidence, by the way, in the Attorney General's IAD office, because, as I mentioned, the report that they released earlier this year about police in custody deaths being reclassified as homicides. When I hear an announcement like that, I'm expecting, so that police killed them, if that's what you're saying. If you're saying that 36 deaths are now homicides, and these were in custody deaths now classified as homicides, so we're going to be getting some murder charges for some of these cops, right? 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 Isn't that what murder is? Didn't they try to run Keith Davis Jr. 6, 7, 9 times for a murder they couldn't get the goods on? But hold on. Everybody knows what happened to these people now. The 36 in custody deaths now reclassified as homicides. I'm expecting some charges forthcoming. So again, don't get too giddy when liberals in particular, Democrats in particular, say that they're making efforts on police reform. We're gonna look at the data and figure out, okay, nigga, look at them charges. Okay, look at them grand jury indictments. Okay, Your audit was cute. Now, hold people accountable. Hold the police accountable for when they murder our folks and get to walk away scot-free. I have one more cops ain't shit story, and then we're going to the palate cleanser, and then we're gonna bid adieu to you and you and you. Well, oh yeah, you got it. Okay. I saw this piece. Let's go back to the UK if we could for a moment. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, spread it down with Kim Brown. We appreciate you guys. If you want to support, please support BIDWKB, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, patreon.com/BIDWKB. Thank you all so much for supporting what we do over here. So I saw this piece. I think, is this a BBC piece? It might be. And I thought this was interesting, because we know the issue of sex assault and RAPE are crimes that are usually not taken seriously by police. These crimes are, first of all, underreported, but when they are reported, they're usually underinvestigated. There's usually very poor attempts by police to apprehend rapists, right? And we know most women know their attackers. Most women who are sexually assaulted are usually assaulted by people they know, that they have some sort of acquaintance or relationship with. And that's not necessarily a romantic relationship. It could be they just know each other, right? So when I saw the story about the Met Police in London launching a new unit seeking to quell the number of sex assaults and trying to identify predatory men in large social gatherings or large social events. And I'm curious as to what you guys think of this, because I'll tell you what I think of it. I'll tell you what I think of it. But let's go ahead and peep this piece from the BBC about London's Met Police new initiative to try to bring down sexual assault numbers.
Scores of Dua Lipa fans arrive at Wembley. Among them is a new patrol.
If something is wrong, just come to us.
Specialist police officers here to spot predatory men and to stop attacks before they happen. It's part of a broader strategy in the Met for tackling violence against women and girls.
We know we've got more to do to win the trust and confidence of all other people of London, particularly women and girls, in relation to public safety. We know we've got more work to do. This is about being on that journey, being better at investigating crimes, being better at engaging with the public.
But for many women, the journey home is when things get dangerous.
Predator is not just going to drag you when everybody is around. They're going to wait until you're isolated.
Tavana Benjamin felt safe watching Usher at the O2 in April, but on her way home she was followed and chased by a man outside Highbury and Islington tube station. She reported it to the police.
But they've not done anything. So we just have to wait for someone, God forbid, but another woman to go through what I've been through, and she might not make it.
What women do tell us is that when they report something, they just feel like nothing's being done.
So part of the challenge of violence against women and girls is the volume. You know, we are receiving thousands and thousands of reports every year. I can't tell you right now that every single crime will get a, full investigation, because, it's all about prioritising our resources and having the best investigation we can.
But it is logged at least.
Absolutely. It's about treating everything with that respect and dignity.
As the concert draws to a close, outside a flurry of fans make their way home and tell us they want more police on the streets.
Do you like seeing more police officers on the streets?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Why?
It makes us feel safer. On the tube or like in central London, there's not lots of policemen, and it's not safe enough, I would say.
After the concert, 6 arrests were made. Sad proof, perhaps, that this strategy could be working.
The cop sat there with a straight face and said, we get thousands of reports of sex assault every year, and we can't investigate all of them because we have to prioritize other crimes. What other crimes, nigga? Aren't you the fucking police? Aren't you funded to the fucking hilt? Anybody happen to know? I should have looked this up. My bad. Anybody happen to know what the annual operating budget is for London's Metropolitan Police Department? I'm sure it is in the high hundreds of millions of pounds. Okay. Probably billions of pounds. If NYPD is a $10 billion gang, taxpayer funded gang, I'm assuming the London Met Police is extremely well funded. I'm sorry, you don't have time to pursue every rape case or rape allegation because y'all got better shit to do. Basically, is that what the cop fucking said in response? But we're going to treat every call with the dignity and respect that it deserves. You just said that you weren't. You literally just said that y'all not about to do that. So which is it, Mr. Officer? Is it Uchiwali or is it One Mike? Are y'all the fucking heroes? Or are y'all the apathetic accomplices in a way, right? And for the sentiment expressed at the end there by the concert goers, how do you feel about the police there? Oh, I love it. It makes me feel safer. Police do not keep us safe, gang. They don't keep us safe. And especially knowing how most people are sexually assaulted, again, usually it's an acquaintance situation. Usually the perpetrator is known to the victim. So what's the response by the police when they get those reports, when the police are called to a rape, or when a survivor walks into the police station to make a report? Like, see, to me, that is more valuable than showing up to the concert. And yes, there are absolutely a contingent of creepy, predatory men that absolutely follow and stalk strangers that they see on the street. That is absolutely a real thing. They did mention that 6 men were arrested, though they didn't mention what the charges were. So I'd be curious as to what that is. But do you guys think that is this an effective use of policing? I mean, the police are just basically created this another unit as a variation of crowd control / surveillance. Keeping an eye on certain behaviors, some of men in proximity to large groups of women. And then how does that break down racially in terms of who draws the attention of police, right? Because we know that the police are going to focus on people of color and black folks, black men in particular, and probably let the real a white creepy predatory man going about his business. Oh, that's just Billy Bob over there. He's just a bit enthusiastic with the lady. You know what I'm saying? But Ishmael, you guys keep an eye on him. That bloke's got locks. He looks suspicious. Why? Because he's Negro. Oh, okay. At least we're being honest. But I saw that story and I'm like, I don't know about this. I don't fucking know about this. More women are assaulted in their house than after the concert. Anyway, I suppose something is better than nothing. And the report mentioned that the Met Police have a reputation to repair. I don't even know if that's accurate, because if you guys remember, I covered here some years ago, there was a Met Police officer who was R-wording lots of women. And there's been a number of femicides and sexual assault cases, high profile ones, that the Met Police just dropped the ball, piss poor investigation, not prioritizing violence against women as a serious crime. So yeah, I guess they've got some work to do. You've got some work to do. But is it work in the best direction? Is it the best use of the ample resources afforded to an organization gang as large as London's Met Police? What say you in the comments? Let me know. So gang, now that we've come to the end of our program, just a quick reminder, no show Friday. We are not observing the 4th of July holiday per se. But no, we will not be here on Friday the 4th. So please have a safe holiday. Go, keep in mind, the police love to be out on 4th of July weekend. So I would say if you partake or imbibe, be extra on your shit. But you know, the police, they don't care if you are sober or not sober. You know, they don't need a whole lot of reasons to initiate an interaction with folks that would be viewers and consumers of this channel. So head on a swivel. Y'all be careful. Look out for the pigs. I want to leave you guys with my palate cleanser. Now, I love Black women talking shit. It's actually one of my favorite genres across the board. When sisters talk they shit, I love it. I can't like it, love it enough. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So this palate cleanser takes us to New York. And New York's an interesting place. I don't know all the subway politics in terms of the way New Yorkers either allow or disallow people to enter behind them on the turnstile or on the train on their fare card. I don't know. But I think it's safe to assume that don't assume that you can just walk up close behind somebody and get in, you know, on their fare ticket, right? So this sister, who is a disabled sister, and announces her disability, but she also announces her issue with the conduct and behavior of some of her fellow train passengers. And she lets it be known. Why? Because she's from New York. and she appears to be Afro-Latina. So she's double not with the shits. Okay. So Will, let's run the palate cleanser from the beginning. My good brother. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm on a motherfucking train, trying to get on the train. Okay. I'm on the train, right? Getting on the train. And two girls, no, first it was three. I paid my fare, and here come this big bitch coming behind me trying to get on. I wouldn't move. She tried to fight me to get on the fucking train, yo. You're not getting on my motherfucking fare, yo. I just paid my fare. Go pay your own motherfucking fare. Then here come two fucking Puerto Rican bitches. Bitch, I'm Puerto Rican too. Anything you say, I understand, Tro. Believe that shit. Don't come up and try to hit me and I pull out my motherfucking chain. You see this shit? Y'all want some? Come get it. Come get it. Okay, they followed me, went up to the same train station I'm getting on, the same cart that I'm in, the same train I'm in, but I don't give a fuck. I will fuck somebody up on this motherfucker today. So if y'all want to get on the same fucking cart with me, come on. I invite y'all to get on the same cart with me so I can show you what fucking one-legged bitch can do with her hands, since you want to play yourself. Because you want to, you trying to get on the train for free. But you trying to get on my kid. I just paid my fare to get on the train. So you're not coming behind me getting on. When the door closes, then you can get on. She tried to rush me. I pulled out my motherfucking chain. Now you backing up. She's on this motherfucking train with me right now. And I hope she get off at the same stop since you want to threaten somebody. I'm gonna show you what this one-legged bitch can do. I lift weights every day for bitches like you.
Yes. Now listen, there's a lot there. And the first thing I want to say is that if public transport was actually public and funded as a public good, all the trains, all the buses, all the public transportation would be free, okay? And you wouldn't have people who are on the same, in the same class of folks. You wouldn't have that lateral violence against each other when it's perceived that one is trying to get in on the dollar and or fare card of the other, right? So public transportation being completely free. Shout out to Zora, Mr. Magdani, who's going to put an end to this sort of, you know, intra-communal violence because of, I guess, misunderstandings at the end of it. But if the shit was free, none of this confrontation likely would have happened. But with the confrontation having transpired, or at least words passed, I know I hate when it be your own niggas, when it be your own people, but listen, sometimes it be your own niggas and it be your own people, okay? And you better be ready. You better stay fucking ready. And my sister there, in spite of her disability, I even hate to use phraseology like that because it's like, oh, well, she overcame her disability. No. My girl seemed ready to throw down. To quote her, I lift weights every day for bitches like you. And I believe her. You want to go fuck with that one-legged bitch? Per her? I wouldn't. She pulled out her chain. And I mean, she was ready. And I love that. You stay ready. You don't have to get ready, y'all. And unfortunately, the drama, the conflict, the confrontation can come in many forms. And you hate to see it be your own people, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it be your own people, and that does not mean that you play victim to your own people. And on the other side of that, please don't look at a physically disabled person or visibly disabled person and think that they are for play. Okay, don't assume it. I understand how ableism works, and people perceive disabled people as vulnerable, and in some cases, some definitely are. But disabled does not mean not dangerous. Okay, it doesn't mean not dangerous. So if you want to test folks, be aware that not everybody is for play. Not everybody is going to allow themselves to be victimized or to be bullied simply because the aggressor is ableist and assumes that the disabled person is incapable of defending themselves or even being the bully themselves, depending on the situation. So I want to shout out to specifically all my disabled bitches who lift weights every day for bitches like that. not the sister making the video, but you understand, people who want to come test you, people who want to come play. You understand? I encourage everybody. I don't know about the chain. I can't speak to that, but please, weaponry is a requisite in the 21st century for the female form, for the LGBTQ folks, for the disabled folks. Make sure you have something on you, because people will try to test you. Now, again, that's not a life or death situation. However, my girl, she wasn't intimidated. She wasn't going to back down. And I just have a lot of respect for that. So there's your palate cleanser, gang. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do me a favor, like the video on your way out the door. And we will see y'all back here on Tuesday. To the sister, I just dropped my phone. So somebody ran the channel some Cash App support this morning during the Remix Morning Show, and I will name you on Tuesday. I'm sorry, my phone is on the floor, so my bad. But I thank you for sending the support. BIDWKB, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and Patreon. Happy birthday again to Latif. Shout out to all the Cancers. Enjoy your season. July. Will, do we have any other final acknowledgments?
Nope.
All righty. Gang, take it easy. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Thursday for the Remix Morning Show and Classical Breakdown on Black Liberation Media. Go set your notifications, subscribe, and tune in. Thank you so much to Will and Molly. Thank you so much to the Fire Fam. Love you guys. See y'all later. Peace. Peace. Peace.